Hey, all right. We're back.
Oh, we're
We
on?
are we we are
Oh,
on.
there were
It's one
Jason had some
o'clock.
technical difficulties, so
I
I was
did. I did.
I was reading
I
this
fixed it.
interesting case we're going to chat about today. But before we do, I'm Paul Reed, your host. This is welcome to Live Feed Reads. This is
That's
Jason
right.
Crawford, the Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson. I
Yeah.
literally was researching a topic today, and I literally got my Florida Law Weekly. Was going through it,
So
and
do you truly nerd out like reading those? Like do you
you
read them
have
for
to.
fun? Oh, yeah, I guess you
Oh
do.
no, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
for fun, dude. It's the remember what happens in Tallahassee is simply this, and I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
The government, the legislative body, they'll make a law,
Yeah.
okay, and then oftentimes the law may be vague or there may be different interpretations.
Rules.
And
Yep.
then the court determines what the law and means,
Yeah.
and in certain cases, the Supreme Court of Florida, whether it's constitutional. And by way of example,
Okay.
I think everybody locally here in Florida has heard now that the uh, Florida Supreme Court has allowed the 15-week ban on abortions
All
to
right. All
go
right. We
into
talked about
effect,
that
which
last week.
then
Yeah.
triggered a 6-week ban. But that's the first case from the Supreme Court is that. And they
Gotcha.
talk about in great detail how they came up with their opinion. So if you kind of
Okay.
want to know what goes on up there and those people are thinking, they lay it out for you. You can go to, I believe, Florida Supreme Court's website.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have a section that says opinions. Type in. Actually, this was April 5th or whatever it was.
Okay.
In the opinion, and you can read it, and dude, it's 1 2 3 4 5, it's 15 20 pages, and the different justices will tell you why they ruled the way they did, and
And
you'd be
so,
surprised that it has little to do with even though I'm sure they all have their own thoughts on whether you should or should not have abortion,
right,
and
right.
whether you should have an abortion after 15 weeks or 20 weeks or viability. Everybody's human, but when
Mm-hmm.
you read this, they don't take that into effect. They take into effect kind of what the Constitution says, and
Mm.
try to interpret it.
So
But
is that only Supreme Court cases that you're reading,
oh
like
no,
in
not
that
at
in that
all.
digest?
Oh
Okay.
no, it's first district. Like this one here we'll talk
Okay.
about was in the let's see where this happened. Altamont Springs, which is in the fifth district court of appeal.
Okay.
So no, it's just it's the Supreme Court always goes first. So the
Got
first
you.
one was abortion. The next one, which I thought was going to occur, were the two amendments that we're going to vote on, and I think we talked about last week. And they
Mm-hmm.
talk about why that the amendment on whether or not to legalize abortion up to viability is going
Mm-hmm.
to be allowed on the ballot. They talk about that, and you can go to the Supreme Court's website and read why
Mm.
they said yes, it can, and the arguments for and against it. And then the other one was the marijuana law. Why
Mm.
you get to vote, I believe it's Amendment 3, as to whether or not it should be on or shouldn't. They talk about that. Some justices talk about why it should be, some shouldn't, and so forth.
Is this accessible to everybody or just lawyers?
Absolutely. Go to
Okay.
go to Florida Supreme Court website. If you just Google, Florida Supreme Court website, they have it. The opinions
Okay.
are there, and you can read them. And
So
rather
Supreme
than
Court
uh, rather than
dot
your freaking TikTok
I was
and
gonna
your
say, yeah.
and your other crap that TV
Yeah.
world wants to
Twitter,
listen to and
Fox News, CNN.
whatever, go and read the opinion. How about this,
Yeah.
TV land? Educate yourself.
But no, that's work. Oh no,
All right.
please. That's
So
work.
anyway, so yes, you can go and you can read them, and
Okay.
believe it or not, it's
Interesting.
it's it's
I didn't
it's
know that.
actually interesting, not even from a lawyer's perspective, because they'll tell you why they think the Florida Constitution does or does not allow something.
Hmm.
Now, again, half the people are going to agree with them and
Yeah.
half are not, but at least you'll know why that particular judge or the particular court came up with the decision that they did.
Right. Right. Right.
All right, so this one, get this. So
Interesting.
we're talking about, which caught my eye. It says, um, can punitive damages be awarded against the AMC movie theater in Altamont Springs when there was gunshots heard and the employees basically took the position there was an active shooter and they needed to get people out of the theater.
Okay.
So
Okay.
those are the facts.
So
And
gunshots were heard,
yeah,
an active shooter, and then the question is whether or not the theater can be.
acted in such a manner
Oh, okay.
as to allow punitive damages. Now remember,
Okay.
there are in injury cases there are call them regular damages, medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering, loss of the enjoyment of life, humiliation, embarrassment, and you can put a dollar value on that. All
Mhm.
right. Well, then there's
Okay. So
another.
this is recent.
Oh no, you know how I told you this takes a long time. This actually
Oh.
happened in 2018.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it takes a long time to work
Yikes.
its way
Yeah. Yeah.
through
Yeah.
the system, so to speak. And
Okay.
so that's kind of what had happened. And back to my thought. And then there are punitive damages. Punitive damages really don't compensate the injured for their lost wages, medical bills, pain, and suffering.
Okay.
They're meant to punish we call them a tortfeasor, the wrongdoer, for their behavior.
For
Example,
negligence or.
well, no, well, yes, well, not just negligence, for gross negligence or
Okay.
intentional conduct, and we'll get into that. But it's
Okay.
basically not to, it doesn't award you for your pain and suffering,
Your pain and
your
suffering.
medical bills, your lost wages. It gives you money
Yeah.
because Jason was driving drunk
Yeah. It's
and
meant to
he
make sure
hit
you
me.
never do
So
such a
we are
thing
going
again.
to
Yeah.
punish Jason
Got
for
you.
his inappropriate behavior.
Interesting. Yeah. 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 Okay.
Okay. And so just so you'll know, insurance
Mhm.
companies don't pay for punitive damages.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
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 They
Yeah.
don't pay
But
for
okay.
your stupidity, your intentional conduct, your gross negligence.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The big one in my world is typically DUIs that cause crashing because,
Right.
uh,
Yes.
the
Or
people are,
or distracted driving in nowadays, right?
yeah, we're not there yet. I know
Okay. Okay.
somewhere, somehow, somebody's going to try to take the position if you can prove that someone was actually on their cell phone or
Yeah, dude.
otherwise,
I guess
they would be
I guess this
entitled,
isn't enough proof.
yeah, to punitive. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying punitive damages aren't there. But
Yeah.
seriously, it's not a bad argument because statistically, and the research shows that texting and driving is actually a greater hazard than drinking and driving. And I'm not
Yes.
condoning anything, either one. But I will say
Sure.
this: at least the drunk driver, and I'm going to catch hell for this. At least the drunk driver is trying to stay on the road. The texter,
Bless his
right?
pea-picking heart.
Yeah, the texter ain't even trying,
Yeah,
right?
dude.
They're not even trying.
Right.
They're looking
Yeah,
down at their
no. They've
phone,
they've
and there's the
abdicated
road.
control of the wheel for
So,
that device in
all
hand.
right.
Yeah.
So what happened was,
Yeah.
and so it was undisputed that there was someone in the parking lot, some idiot, shot off a gun. Okay, so then it was heard by the manager of the theater, and the manager evidently in this AMC, and maybe all of them, but the employees have a little, little walkie-talkie with an earphone, you know. So the manager says, "Hey, active shooter, active shooter." The
Yeah.
employee heard it. Well, the AMC actually had, which is sad, they actually had or have a training every 6 months to the employees that work there have to undergo that teaches them or instructs them what to do for a bad weather event. Now I'm assuming, maybe up in the Midwest, tornadoes, bad weather events, active shooters, and other things that can happen, when patrons are in the theater, right? So that employees have to watch it. And so the allegation was that, well, let me continue. So the employees hear the active shooter. I guess there was a popular movie back in 2018. They don't talk about it, but the place was full. And
Okay.
of course, as you might imagine, one of the probably younger, 18, 17, 16, 19, 21-year-old employees goes in and starts yelling, "Get out! Get out! Active shooter." Well, what do you think happens? You're
People
right.
panic.
A freaking stampede.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the plaintiff here gets trampled, and I'm not making light of it, but it was a
Right.
stampede
Sure.
in the dark, downstairs to get out, get out. Well, evidently unfortunately, the plaintiff, and they listed, was significantly injured, you know. So, but for whatever reason, the lawyer, wanted to go big or go home.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
he wanted more money, from AMC than I guess just the normal negligence, because it can be the punitive damages, especially against the corporation, can be in the millions, right?
Okay.
But like this one, a broken leg, surgery, and some recovery and medical bills, it would not have amounted to millions. In the damages here, it would have been, in the hundreds of thousands, arguably, but it was not in the millions. But if you get into
Okay.
punitive damages, then you can get the big money. You with me so far?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so they amend the complaint after doing some discovery, meaning taking the depositions of the employees, what happened, who did what, and so forth.
Okay.
And then you file a motion. This is how it works. The procedure: you file a motion. I'd like to amend the complaint to bring punitive damages against AMC.
Okay.
All right. Well, the system is set up where the first thing you have to do, file the motion, amend your complaint, and allege why you think punitive damages would be proper or appropriate. And then you got to have like a little mini hearing with the judge, and the judge decides, should punitive damages be allowed in this case? If the judge says no, then you don't get to. If the judge says yes, then you get to proceed. But either side can appeal, which is what happened here. The judge did not allow punitive damages, and the plaintiff appealed to the Fifth District Court of Appeal. You with
Okay.
me so far?
Yes. So the
Trial judge. Okay.
employee shouting was kind of like the impetus for, oh, you shouldn't have done that. We're gonna hold you responsible.
Shouting and not following
Causing,
other
inciting a
procedures,
panic.
not following other procedures that were
Procedures. Okay.
manual. They should have turned on the lights. They should have
Okay.
calmly escorted people to the
Okay.
exits. Things
So
like that.
right. Okay. So the argument is they
Instead,
deviated from the policies and procedures, incited a panic, and therefore are responsible.
short
Okay.
version, because we only got 15, 20 minutes. But yes,
Right. Yeah.
and
Okay.
you're right. That's what happened.
Okay.
And remind me to tell you my story about the crash landing where this happened at the end of the show.
Oh my word.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. So and here's why, just again, the appellate for punitive damage in a situation like this, you have to prove one of two things. Basically, intentional conduct on the part of
Mm-hmm.
AMC, which means that the defendant had actual knowledge of the wrongfulness of the conduct and the high probability that the injury and damage to the claimant would result. Well, certainly, as it relates to AMC, they had training policies, procedures. You had to watch every 6 months the movie or the this, that, and the other, and you had to even take a test.
Okay.
So they said, well, this certainly wasn't intentional misconduct. They did not intend for someone to get harmed, which they didn't.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they might have, overreacted. They might have been negligent in how they handled it, but the court said
Sure.
no intentional misconduct. And then there is a second avenue by which you can recover for punitive damages, which is gross negligence.
Okay.
Okay. And this is defined as so reckless or wanting in care that it constituted a conscious disregard or the indifference to life, safety, or the rights of persons exposed to the conduct. And then the Florida Supreme Court in the case says
Hmm.
basically they analogize that to you almost have to be able to be convicted of criminal manslaughter.
Right. Like, here,
Well,
hold my beer. I'm gonna do this.
the excited and probably young, not that that matters, but probably we've all been to the movie theaters. The
Sure.
excited person that goes in and screaming, get out, active shooter,
Sure.
they could not be convicted of manslaughter.
Okay.
Okay, so
So,
that's why it failed. There was no intentional conduct and it didn't rise to the level of gross negligence. So they were
okay.
ultimately not allowed to bring the claim for punitive damages.
Is there any room in that for, oh, this employee went rogue. This isn't how they were trained. This isn't how this is they
Well, good
is there
point.
a pivot on that or no?
The problem with that is you have to attribute that to the employer. And
Okay.
I'll give you an example. Uh, about every month or pretty regularly, unfortunately, an Uber driver or a Lyft driver
Okay.
or some other, it could be door that somebody
Sure.
rapes and beats and shoots and kills somebody. I'm not
Yeah.
making it up. You can Google it. In fact, I just read the other
Wow.
day where it happened again. So
Wow.
now the question is,
Mm.
like using your terminology, can you sue Uber and Lyft and or any employer when their
Hmm.
employee goes rogue and acts outside of the scope of their employment?
Right. Yeah.
It's very difficult. You
Ooh.
know, and in all fairness, if I employ people, if someone walks outside and starts capping the cars with a gun, from our parking lot, well, hell, I didn't know they were going to do that.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you would have to, on those employer cases, what happens is they try to prove a failure to in the hiring process. You didn't look to see if,
Okay.
they were guilty of murder in Alaska,
Yeah.
whatever.
Or
Those
the pattern
aren't,
of outbursts with the
yeah,
employee and you did
yeah,
nothing
those
to,
those aren't easy. Or the
yeah. Yeah.
employee
Yeah.
attacks somebody in Walmart because I didn't get them the ketchup bottle,
I'm
whatever.
sick of working here, man.
So those
Yeah.
aren't
Yeah.
so those aren't so easy. But
Ooh.
theoretically, you of course the employee has no money, so you would try to get the
Right.
employer, but
Okay.
it's not as easy as you think.
Yeah. And insurance doesn't cover punitive when you're talking about
Correct,
punitive damages.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
At all.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so back to my real life
Yeah.
example of
Okay.
an employee in a situation like this losing her damn mind. So I was working for a couple of big dogs and
Okay.
good guys in downtown Tampa, and
Okay.
I had to go to New York on a Friday to do a deposition of an expert witness.
Okay.
And so I get on my JetBlue plane. And just so you know, I went the next day and bought a JetBlue hat. So I get on my JetBlue plane. I land at JFK. I take a cab, or back then it was a cab, out to Long
Okay.
Island. And hold on, Billy, ain't got time for it. And I take my cab out. I do my deposition, come back, and get back on the plane. And we take off. It's about
Okay.
5 o'clock, I think, and all's well. About 15 minutes into the flight, the pilot comes on and says, "Hey, we've got an issue with the landing gear. We're
Okay.
not sure whether it's up and locked or not. We're not sure if it's a sensor that's bad, but we got to turn around and check it out. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but that's what it
Okay.
is. He goes, okay. So we turn around, and about 15 minutes later, he goes, okay, so just so you know, we've got to fly real low to the ground, and we've got to go by the tower so they can look and see what's up. So we do. We're full speed, and dude, we're treetop.
Oh my word,
We're
bro.
treetop because you know the towers. You've seen them. Everybody's seen the tower.
You're gonna be
And we blow by, go up,
no
and we
bathroom
do
breaks were
we
allowed
do
during
it.
this, right?
No, this is the God's honest truth. We do it 2 or 3 times,
Grief.
and he goes, "Okay,
Oh.
sit tight. We'll be back. We'll be in touch." So
Where am
then,
I gonna go?
well, hold on. So
What?
I had 2 young girls with me and a baby. There were some college kids beside me, and everybody's just at that point like nothing's wrong.
Okay.
But I'm looking out the window. I had the window seat, and I'm like,
Hmm.
we're flying. Why are we flying over the ocean? You know, and we fly for about 45 minutes over the ocean. I didn't know then, but I know now. We flew over the ocean and we dumped all our gasoline because about another 30 or
Oh.
40 minutes come by, and the captain makes an announcement, ladies and gentlemen, precautionary measures have to be taken. Again, we just think it's a sensor, but we don't know. We're going to do a crash. We got to prepare for a crash landing.
Oh my word.
Now people are pooping themselves. My
Yeah.
little girls are crying. The college kids are like, "What the,
Mm-hmm.
WTF?"
Yep. Right. Got it. Got
People
it.
are
Got it.
panicking, and
Yep.
they're taking your stuff, and they're locking stuff, and they're doing this, and they go through the okay
All the motions.
when we tell you to brace, put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye.
Oh my word. Yeah.
Well, it's
Okay.
pandemonium at this point. But
Wow.
I turned to the little girls and I'm like, look, it's going to be okay. And I turned to the college kids. They're right. I said, dude, don't worry about it. I said, it's Friday. I says, God would not take me sober on a plane. I haven't had a beer today. And so we're good. I said, don't worry about it. And they laugh a little bit. So we do our thing and we're getting ready for
Oh.
landing. And the flight attendant says, we're getting ready, and she goes,
This
okay,
story didn't make it into the book.
didn't.
You better write it down, like put a
Oh,
note
this
down.
is okay. Well, this is why you read the book. So
Yeah.
anyway, the woman starts screaming at the top of her lungs, "Grace, Grace,
Wait,
we're
which woman?
nuts!" The
Which woman?
stewardess of the
The
employee.
stewardess. Oh my
Yeah, she's
word.
losing her damn mind. For God's
She's
sake,
come unhinged.
Grace.
She's
Dude,
come
people are
unhinged.
praying,
Okay.
screaming, and they're
Yeah.
ducked down, right? Well, I'm like, I'm not. I'm like, screw this. Let's see what the hell's fixing to happen.
Yeah.
Grace,
Yeah.
it's not going to do
I'm
any
stuck
good.
with my
So
eyes
I'm
open.
looking, dude,
Yeah.
it's surreal. People
I
are
bet.
down, they're screaming, crying, our Father who art in heaven.
Yeah, of
And,
course.
and so as we're coming down, I had the window. Dude, they had foam on our runway that was 50 feet high. They had foam this whole runway, and there were ambulances, fire trucks, at least on my side, lined up. I'm
And
like,
all you did was buy a hat to say thank you.
yeah. Well, anyway, I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah,
Long
wow.
story short, we landed, and it was fine.
Cool.
The foam, it was okay. But I'm going to tell
Okay.
you this: I did send a text when we got low enough. Say, look, I just want to let you know we're crash landing, and if things don't go well, I love you, and I hit send. Of
Yeah,
course, when we did land, phone blowing up and all that, but
of
so it
course.
it wasn't nothing, but it turned out to be nothing. Now
Wow,
here's
Paul, that's
two,
crazy.
two things. One, half the plane, the New Yorkers, Long Island,
Yeah.
whatever. Oh, I don't give a rat's ass about Grandma Jones. I'm going home. She can die.
Wow.
So half of the New Yorkers or whoever. Some people say, "Well, I'm renting a car. I'll drive to Florida," and this, that, and the other. So
Wow.
we finally get on a plane. I don't know. It's about 8 or 9 o'clock. Oh, and you know what they did? God bless them. We got free beer, free alcohol. Yeah. So
Um,
that's the God's honest truth. I came home, ordered me a JetBlue hat, and I still have to this day. Now I will
wow,
say,
Paul,
if you
you
want
better
to
keep
know,
that hat. That
if
is
you
a
want to know
monument.
whether this story's true, about 1 to 2 weeks later, and this is Jason, you can find this, I'm sure. It
Yeah.
was on national TV. I'm watching TV
Wow.
over in LA, a JetBlue plane, its landing gear was stuck in like that position. So here's the plane. So
Wow.
it was stuck, and they literally did have to
Yeah.
nosedive. And I'm like, hey, they didn't fix my plane.
Flight 292,
I don't know. In LA?
September 21st, 2005, Los Angeles International Airport.
Yep.
After the gear jammed in an
I don't
abnormal
make any,
position,
nothing in the book
no
is
one was
made up.
injured.
Yes. And I said,
Yeah.
and I was
Wow.
saying, they didn't fix
Paul,
my,
God
hey,
loves you, Paul.
they didn't fix my plane. Yeah. So anyway,
Wow.
that's my
What a
JetBlue
note.
story.
What a note. You know what? That's a high note to end on.
It
That is
is.
a fantastic story, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you.
Holy cow.
And
Yeah.
again, there's more in the book.
Oh my word. How cool. All right,
Yep.
cool.
All right.
Well, thank you for sharing that information. I think it's really important to break some of these things down, and I didn't know about the all of these could be read on the Florida Supreme Court website, which is also fantastic. It's going to give me one more thing to do.
Yeah.
It's going to feel
Well,
like I need to
again,
catch
like I
up on.
said,
Uh,
at least at least understand where the courts are coming from, because
mhm.
people are losing confidence in the judicial system.
Yeah.
And if you read it again, you may or may not agree with it, but this
Mhm.
wasn't just somebody up in Tallahassee saying, I don't like abortions and I'm going
Mhm.
to rule against it or for it.
Sure.
They
Yeah.
put in a lot of thought into how they reached the conclusion they did. Now, I'm
Certainly.
not naive enough to know,
Certainly.
you can certainly find case law and however you want to go, but
Yeah.
it just wasn't this flip of a coin. That's
And
all.
you know what? Another thing to keep in
And
mind
you know
is
what? Whether I agree or not, what they say kind of makes sense if you relate it to what they're trying to say the Constitution says and what the law is.
certainly. Yeah, the other
Yeah.
thing that comes to my mind is a lot of the news outlets or people on social media or whatever, they're saying whatever they want to say to get clicks. Whether it's sensational or not, it needs to be to get attention and get clicks. This information is being produced and put out there, and like relatively nobody knows because they're not trying to get clicks. They're just trying to put out the information and put out the facts. I think when it comes down to figuring out which sources to trust, that's something that people need to keep in mind. You may have to go searching for the authentic points of good information, but when you find them, take a
Yeah.
look, take a look. Don't
No,
just
I
take
don't
the
disagree.
one-liners from.
I mean, and we'll get out of here. It's a beautiful day, by
Cool.
the way, but we'll get out of it because people, you're fixing to get bombarded,
Oh yeah,
bombarded on every aspect of your life, from TV to
yeah,
radio to that cell phone to your computer,
yeah.
on politics.
I
Who
just
you should
fasted
vote
from
for
social
and why
media
you
this
should
week.
vote for them, and
Yeah,
just don't
I took
believe
a break.
don't believe it, don't listen to it,
Yeah,
just don't.
it's also negative and fight, just
Well,
tumultuous. And I took a break. I was like, I'm not doing any social media. Period.
yeah,
Won't even touch the apps except for work.
no, I
Uh,
agree. Yeah.
it's been just I'm like, and
Look,
I'm so happier.
I have
Like, oh my word,
Snapchat, and that's just so I can send pictures and things of little Millie having fun.
that's awesome. That's
And
awesome.
with the kids. I mean, my
Of
Snapchat
course,
is a couple of friends, family, and that's it.
of
All
course.
right, well, get us
All
out
right,
of here.
man.
So
I
go to
will.
the Supreme Court's website if you really want to kind of understand where that came from. If you want to know why they allowed the marijuana amendment to go forward, why they let
Go
people to
read it.
vote, you'll know the truth as to at
Mm-hmm.
least what these 7 people believe the Constitution says, and why you should or should not be allowed to vote on the Amendment 3 of marijuana, the amendment on abortions, and so forth.
Absolutely.
All
Well,
right.
thank you, Paul. Good
All right.
information. I'll take us out.
Yep. Thanks.
Read and read. It's like having a lawyer in the family.